Hi guys, and welcome to the Electric Singularity. My name is Sam Evans, and I'll be sharing with you every day articles from around the internet, the best articles about our coming electric future and our coming sustainable future as well. Today's article comes from Electrek. It's written by Michelle Lewis, and it's titled, "Here's What's in Biden's $2 trillion Infrastructure Plan About Clean Energy." The Biden administration has published its $2 trillion infrastructure plan, which is called the American Jobs Plan, on the White House website. Biden will discuss the plan today in a speech in Pittsburgh. The plan is extremely comprehensive, and that is an understatement. So we pulled out the clean energy overview in a quick roundup here. The New York Times points out, officials said that, if approved, the spending in the plan would end decades of stagnation in federal investment in research and infrastructure, and would return government investment in those areas as a share of the economy to its highest level since the 1960s. Well, fingers crossed that this is true. I believe the Biden administration are taking too long on this, so hopefully they can push this through as quickly as possible. Biden infrastructure plan. How it's funded. The spending in the plan will take place over 8 years. The president's tax plan will ensure that corporations pay their fair share of taxes by increasing the corporate tax rate to 28%. Not sure that's a good idea, but anyway. This will help fund critical investments in infrastructure, clean energy, R&D, and more to maintain the competitiveness of the United States and grow the economy. Yes, corporate are already howling about this tax increase will hurt jobs. Well, they may have a point, Michelle. It may hurt jobs. It's definitely possible. Trump cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. So maybe 28% is a nice middle ground between those two numbers. Spur jobs, modernizing power generation and delivering clean electricity. President Biden is proposing a 10-year extension and phase down of an expanded direct pay investment tax credit and production tax credit for clean energy generation and storage. These credits will be paired with strong labor standards to ensure the jobs created are good quality jobs with a free and fair choice to join a union and bargain collectively. Quote from Biden's plan, and it will use the federal government's incredible purchasing power to drive clean energy deployment across the market by purchasing 24/7 clean power for federal buildings. Me interjecting, great decision. I really like this. Back to the article. To ensure that we fully take advantage of the opportunity that modernizing our power sector presents, President Biden will establish an Energy Efficiency and Clean Electricity Standard, EECES, aimed at cutting electricity bills and electricity pollution, increasing competition in the market, incentivizing more efficient use of existing infrastructure, and continuing to leverage the carbon pollution-free energy provided by existing sources like nuclear and hydropower. Well, as we know, nuclear and hydropower are extremely expensive when compared to solar and wind, so hopefully they don't focus on those areas too much. Build next-generation industries in distressed communities. President Biden believes that the market-based shift toward clean energy presents enormous opportunities for the development of new markets and new industries, and he's 100% right. There is going to be an astronomical shift in our energy supply and energy generation in the next decade. So it's good to hear Biden has some awareness of this. Quote from the statement from the president. For example, by pairing an investment in 15 decarbonized hydrogen demonstration projects in distressed communities with a new production tax credit, we can spur capital project retrofits and installations that bolster and decarbonize our industry. Interjection, hydrogen. What the heck? What is he talking about? Fingers crossed that they have a change of heart, do some research, and realize that hydrogen is not what we need and is certainly not cost effective and is not the future of energy generation or storage. Back to the article. The president's plan also will establish 10 pioneer facilities that demonstrate carbon capture retrofits for large steel, cement, and chemical production facilities, all while ensuring that overburdened communities are protected from increases in cumulative pollution. Probably a more effective use of this money would be simply to invest more heavily in battery storage, solar and wind generation as well. Back to the article. And to accelerate responsible carbon capture deployment and ensure permanent storage, President Biden's plan reforms and expands the bipartisan Section 450 tax credit, making it direct pay and easier to use for hard-to-decarbonise industrial applications, direct air capture, and retrofits of existing power plants. Put union building trade workers to work upgrading homes and businesses to save families money. President Biden's plan also will establish a $27 billion clean energy and sustainability accelerator to mobilise private investment into distributed energy resources, retrofits of residential, commercial and municipal buildings, and clean transportation. These investments have a particular focus on disadvantaged communities that have not yet benefited from clean energy investments. Establish the United States as a leader in climate science, innovation, and R&D. The President is calling on Congress to invest $35 billion in the full range of solutions needed to achieve technology breakthroughs that address the climate crisis and position America as a global leader in clean energy and technology and clean energy jobs. Well, we clearly do not need any kind of technology breakthroughs. We just need what we've already had over the past 20 years, that is consistent declines in price of solar, wind, and battery storage. So focusing on those areas is the most important. Back to the article. Jumpstart clean energy manufacturing through federal procurement. To meet the President's goals of achieving net zero emissions by 2050, the United States will need more electric vehicles, charging ports, and electric heat pumps for residential heating and commercial buildings. The President is calling on Congress to enable the manufacture of electric vehicles, ports, pumps, and clean materials, as well as critical technologies like advanced nuclear reactors and fuel. Stupid idea. For the love of God, I hope that's not true. Back to the article. Here at home, through a $46 billion investment in federal buying power, creating good-paying jobs and reinvigorating local economies, especially in rural areas. Why do I say I hope the nuclear part of this plan isn't true? Well, clearly nuclear is incredibly expensive and cannot possibly be cost-effective with solar, wind, or battery storage. So investing in these plants is a complete waste of money. Job creation. Biden's calling for a $40 billion investment in a new dislocated workers program and sector-based training. This funding will ensure comprehensive services for workers who have lost jobs through no fault of their own to gain new skills and to get career services they need with in-demand jobs. This includes clean energy. I think this is a great idea. President Biden also will call upon Congress to ensure that new jobs created in clean energy manufacturing and infrastructure are open and accessible to women and people of color. He is asking Congress to tie federal investments in clean energy and infrastructure to prevailing wages and require transportation investments to meet existing transit labour protections. Abigail Rosshopper, President and CEO of the Solar Energy Industries Association, said in response to the plan, the release of these critical infrastructure priorities is just the beginning of a long policymaking process over the coming weeks and months that will require continued focus and determination on the part of elected officials. In line with the President's emphasis on high-quality jobs, an upcoming job study will show that solar has a unionisation rate of 10%, which is substantially more than previously estimated and higher than the economy-wide average. These union jobs, along with numerous other career-sustaining jobs in solar, offer another moment to prioritise equity and create opportunities in every community, regardless of zip code, including for fossil fuel workers who are looking to continue their careers in the energy sector. We look forward to working with the administration and bipartisan members of Congress to enact policies that generate the kind of economic growth and climate solutions we're all striving to achieve. Electrik's take. As I mentioned above, the American Jobs Plan is absolutely massive, and this is only the first half of the plan. Public domestic investment as a share of the economy has fallen by more than 40% since the 1960s. The American Jobs Plan will invest in America in a way that we have not invested since we built the interstate highways and won the space race. There will, of course, be a lot of pushback and shouting about taxes from many groups and legislators, and a whole lot of horse trading. The Business Council for Sustainable Energy were excited, though. We at Electrek are very excited and intrigued to see where this leads. We want to see a huge push in clean energy jobs, and emissions reductions. And we believe that it's going to take a gargantuan effort like this, and yes, it has to come with a gargantuan price tag. But you know what could cost even more? Doing nothing. And neglecting this since the 1960s is precisely why it costs so much now. Unfortunately, I strongly disagree with this article. Strongly. I don't believe transitioning to a new carbon-free green economy requires this kind of spending in areas that will not provide quality economic returns. It's clear from Tony Sieber's analysis from Rethink X that the future of clean energy, the future of energy storage, is wind, solar, and battery storage. It's clear that even now, the costs for wind power, solar, and battery storage are significantly lower than nuclear, hydro. And what we need to do is focus our energies completely on changing the grid in all Western countries as quickly as possible to solar, wind, and short-term battery storage. This is what the Biden administration should be focusing on. However, unfortunately, it appears as though much of what they're focusing on is not on these areas and on other areas. Hopefully, the Biden administration recognize the enormous opportunity we have to invest now, as soon as possible, in wind, solar, and battery storage. And here are the three most popular comments for Joe Biden's release. The first one comes from Pete O. I hope it includes federal incentives for homeowners to get solar, along with energy storage onto their houses, also apartment buildings, clean heating and cooling for houses. Reactivate expired tax credits for hybrid electric cars. There's so much that can be done to spur people to invest to clean energy and conservation. Pedo, I totally agree with you. I can see why your comment got the most upvotes. Response to him was, from Sustainable 2020, sure, all good, except the hybrid cars. That time has passed. No plug, no sale. In fact, no reason to settle there now. Incentives only for passenger BEVs is the way forward now. Nearly every vehicle class has BEV entrant now or later this year. Yep, agree, Sustainable 2020, 100%. Our next comment has 13 upvotes and 1 downvote. Comes from ATT. Finally, we have new ideas, proactive and forward-looking. Imagine we were supposed to bring about a bold new future by building a well, cutting tax revenue, and taking away healthcare from people, and bringing back coal. What a waste of time the last 4 years were. Well, I don't think that's entirely true, but yes, I agree to some extent. Invest. I am most excited for the acceleration of electric cars and charging, but also for the new economy. And our final top comment goes to Stephen Dennis. President Biden's infrastructure proposals fit very well into the substantial changes already going on in terms of powering our transportation system and other major energy users. I think those that rail against such change and expect a pullback to fossil fuel use are ignoring the fact that very large and powerful economic interests have already made the beginning of the switch to renewable, and that trend is now irreversible. Since GM has already stated that it expects to be winding up its ICE-powered car and truck production by 2035 or thereabout, it's best to believe them and act accordingly, with the same being true for all those other manufacturers who have already announced that they are doing the same. Now, Stephen, if GM winds up its ICE manufacturing in 2035, they'll be bankrupt. Sorry, mate, that's a fact. It's this simple. If GM doesn't move fully electric within 5 years, they will go bankrupt. There is no other choice. There's no other possibility. And I'm sorry, mate, but they need to move quicker. If they don't, they'll realize this very quickly, I think within the next 24 months, that all their resources and efforts need to go to electric pretty much immediately if they want to stay in the game of selling cars. However, on your other point about this article, saying that it's all about moving to renewable energy isn't actually true. Clearly, in the article, Biden has said they'll be sponsoring nuclear. Now, technically, nuclear is not renewable energy. It is fossil fuel. So I disagree with their sponsorship of this form of fossil fuel. I used to agree with nuclear. However, now the costs are ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. So on a logical level, I don't agree with nuclear at all. Hopefully, they realize that and put that money into other areas where it can be better spent. Guys, thanks for watching.